Alrighty. So tonight we have Lea Sevigny and Maria Found joining us. They are both teachers, obviously, and they're going to share a little bit with us about, first, where they're from, kind of subject areas, grade level, location, and that trajectory through teaching to where they are now. So Maria, if you'd like to start, and then Lea, you can follow.
So my name's Maria Found, as Katie mentioned. I have been here at Brewster Academy for 23 years now, and that was my stint after I left corporate America. I actually ran a manufacturing company for many years, but I wanted to spend time with a family my husband and I were starting to talk about. So I taught while I was at UNH for a few years, and I really enjoyed it before I went off on really the business era. But in being here and seeing what it's like to work with young people and to allow my children to have this opportunity to be in a school where they really do value kids giving back, I've been, I think, really blessed and really happy that I've landed on this part of my life.
Excellent. Thank you.
Maria, I've also been in my current school district for 23 years, so that's interesting. Yeah. I started my teaching career teaching social studies and language arts, and then went into some instructional coaching and other positions where I was supporting teachers and families. Always with the teaching contract, but just different types of positions. So this is my 4th year back in the classroom, and I have 7th and 8th grade students in an outdoor place-based course. So it's an elective middle school class that I teach at 2 different schools. And essentially we go out into the natural world and then share our experiences in some way. And so I'm trying to give students an opportunity to love the natural world so that they become good stewards as they grow into adulthood. And part of place-based learning is the aspect of service learning. And so it meshes very well with the values of and the goals of learning to give. So I've been very happy to be able to bring those two, bring learning to give curriculum into my place-based course, which I call Natural Expressions.
Natural Expressions. All right. Thank you. So with that being said, I'm curious a little bit, specifically, even tonight, and as people kind of look at this recording, what's one really top thing that comes to mind that you want other teachers to know about what you do? Maria, if you want to start.
Well, one thing I did not mention is that I am a calculus teacher. I teach AP Calculus. And I know that probably many are wondering what's the connection there, but I think that what it is well beyond just the classroom and how I grew up and what my parents instilled in me. And that is about really understanding that these kids have a lot to learn and their hearts have a lot of room to grow. And it's very important that we work with them to help provide opportunities. And you can feel as though sometimes you might want to give up, but don't give up. The starting of any new event, it can be low attendance and maybe something that didn't go off as well as you thought, but that's such a beautiful opportunity to sit with the kids and find out what didn't work well and how can we make it better and how do we grow what we have here. The kids, as they do more and more, I find that their hearts are growing and they become really attached to wanting to do more. And I think that, don't give up. That's probably my biggest advice. And be passionate, obviously, because the kids pick up on that. They really pick up on that.
Thank you.
Yeah, I would also say that the more we can give students a voice in what they're doing in their learning, but also in their service, the more engaged I've noticed that they are, and the less likely they are to say, oh, we're doing work for someone, but to do that same work with a passion and feel the difference that they're making in the community. And so as I said, teach middle school, and I've noticed too that as they're just getting to that age of independence, they feel so empowered when I give them an opportunity to make choices. However, what that has done for me is it has sometimes increased my workload a bit when I'm trying to differentiate, and there are students who have a lot of different ideas, and it is a lot easier to just have one project that everybody's doing. But I agree with the idea of not worrying about failing, just go in and try it and give students voice in their work.
Love it. I like the student's voice. That's a big part of what we talk about too with Learning to Give, and even that service learning process, right, is giving the students the option to pick out what they're passionate about, interested in, and then the avenue to be able to make a difference based on their own passions and interests. I love it. Does anyone out there, Maria, I'm putting some quotes kind of too for everyone to see just as we're going through the conversation, things that are sticking out for me that you guys are saying. So those are in the chat as well. Lea, what do you want your local community, and how do you connect to your community, and what do you want them to know about the work that your students are doing? How do you share that with your community?
Well, because I teach, my certification in Michigan is under the umbrella of speech, and so I've created this course to be a communications course, and therefore when I said, we share what we've experienced, then I do have my students share things with our local community, whether it's like writing for our newsletter or posting, like they'll maybe make a meme, like they'll go out and take pictures in nature and then write an inspirational quote or something and share that way. But in general, the things that they're trying to share with the community really do have to do with like kind of healing the earth and the difference that we can make, and the idea that every person can do a little something and that makes an impact. And so I try to share that with the students and show them, give them opportunities to see where they as one individual or as several students can make a difference, and then what they share out with the community translates.
Okay, excellent. I haven't heard the meme thing before, and that could actually turn into a really neat addition to a Learning to Give lesson, or even something to add to like the blue sky activity as another aspect of just creativity to what you're thinking about and seeing and envisioning. I like it. I'm making a note. Maria.
So for us, I think one of the things that stands out is we're a private boarding school with students from all over the world. So one of the things that's really important to us is to let our local community know how we can imbibe so much culture and diversity in this area, which traditionally is not very rich in diversity. For example, today we had our international students host our preschool. Well, actually, it's not preschool, it's grades K1, 2, 3. And they came over to our school and learned about all of the different cultures by sitting with their students who did presentations for them. And those are the sort of things that we want the community to know, is that we have a lot to offer here. And we'd love to let our kids out to help and assist in many different ways, because you never know what a culture brings that might be different from how something used to run or how something is looked at because of what they have to offer. So that would probably be one of the things that I would want our community to know.
Okay, excellent. Kind of related to that too, and I think you've both kind of touched on it a little bit, but could you share with the group, a lesson or project that you've developed either with your students, specifically kind of that agency and voice in the process, but where you've seen some real transformation in your students through the lesson or project that you implemented. Lea, if you want to go first.
So there are a couple different projects that I have come back to. Generally in my teaching, as in my cooking, I just like do something different every day. I mean, every year, you know what I mean? Like it's not the same thing from year to year. But there are a couple, and one is the students have learned how to loom baby hats to bring awareness to the American Red Cross and to Heart Month, and they're collecting those in our community and I think across the nation every year. But what I've noticed, now this is one particular activity where they don't have voice, and I introduce it, and well, here's where they have the voice. There's been another activity and I've given it as an option, and always a group chooses it. And then I say, that's the one we're going with. But they always choose it because they think it's interesting. But there are so many students who have never sewn or knitted or loomed or anything. They don't think that they're creative. And especially when it's, when they've just, maybe they feel uncoordinated, or maybe they're very athletic. They know they're coordinated, but they've never done this and they feel it's, you know, like they put a gender on it or something. So what I've noticed is that they start out thinking they can't do it. Everyone is successful. They all end up making a baby hat. Sometimes they've made 2 or 3 mess ups and had to start again, but we sit together and it is something every student has been capable of doing. And then I have them write a reflection, and it is amazing to see the things that they have to say about how good they feel, one, that they accomplished it, or they feel so great because they didn't think they could do it and they had to start 3 times and they were getting so frustrated, and then finally they did it and it looked great and some baby's gonna wear it, you know, all those things. That's where I've seen transformation in students on that project most particularly.
I love it. Maria?
So our kids are a little bit older, and we really try to get them to run the entire event. They do need some guidance and a certain monetary assistance. That's where I've been really grateful to learning to give for the grants that they have offered out. And I think that's made a big difference in us being able to do more than what we normally would be able to. Last year I did one which was working with seniors with technology. So our National Honor Society ran with that, and they planned on how they would go in to the local residents and help with teaching them just the basics with phones and computers and cameras. And I agree with you, Lea. The reflections are phenomenal. There's things that come out of those that I don't think I ever would have predicted, because you see, as the facilitator, you see what's going on and you see that it's working well, but you don't hear all the conversations. So when they do give feedback about what that meant to them, it's pretty phenomenal. So, you know, that's one of the things with we did with the technology in the senior citizens home. We did a doggy decompression with the local animal shelter where we had puppies come in, and that was during finals week. So the students had to organize all that and get the puppies in here, including some faculty dogs, and collect the monies, which would go back to the Humane Society. We have an SEL block here, so once a week. And in different parts of the year, the spring is only once a week, but in the fall and winter, we have it twice a week. The SEL block is for students to learn about different things and to plan things. So one of the events we held were about writing kind and thoughtful and appreciative messages on stones. And I believe it was stonework was the theme of it. As silly as that might seem, the kids loved it. And I actually took that activity to another club of mine, which works with the local churches. There's 2 churches we combine with. help bring in the local high school with Brewster Academy prep school students. And we spent hours decorating and then putting them out in town. Just the sense of doing something good in the community has been phenomenal. Our Best Buddies group works with intellectually and developmentally disabled students. That's been a big push for us to have students understand how and important it is to accept everyone. So we've done they've been very pivotal in crafting the unified games, for example. So they've chosen football and flag football, I should say, basketball, soccer, and just to tell you about the impact of what it does to students, the tennis team just recently came to us and said, hey, we want to get involved in this. Can we do tennis? Can we have a unified tennis match or teach them how to play tennis? So you see the students just getting so involved and engaged because they're not being forced to do this. They're joining, they're having fun. And I think that just spreads and everyone wants to be a part of it. And that's the beauty of it, you know, not making it mandatory, but making it something that's so much fun and you just feel so good about it. So one of the students that was my president for Best Buddies went to St. Lawrence University. She was a freshman this year, and they did not have a Best Buddies club. So you want to talk about transformation. She created a Best Buddies club at St. Lawrence University because of her experience doing it here. That's huge. I have another girl who is been going through all of the different training, and she has transformed from this very quiet, shy, timid young lady to putting herself out there in front of a group of students and leading the charge for what we have to do for all the tasks with the events. And it has been beautiful to watch her grow as a leader in learning, you know, how do we make this happen? How do we help it be successful? So there's such a slew. We have a group that works with young children because we have a daycare right across the street. And they've done a phenomenal job with helping a group of grandparents who raise their grandchildren. And it's been just beautiful to watch the impact that they have when they go over there and play with their grandkids, so that the grandparents can go to sessions and talk about things that they're facing raising their grandchildren. So there's just so much that we try to instill here. And so far, everything seems to be working. It's come back on an annual basis. The Wolfboro Serves, which is working with the churches, is new this year, but that seems to be getting off on a good foot. So, but I could go on and on. I'm sorry.
Oh, it's great. It's great. Leah, do you have anything else to add to that or round back to? Or
I don't think so.
Okay, no problem. You were a couple times. It looked like you wanted to say something. So
Oh, no.
giving you a chance. Okay, I'm gonna kind of switch gears slightly and talk a little bit about how you balance standards with student goals and interests, and then also administrative goals and requirements. Does either of you want to jump in and take a stab at that one first?
Well, I can talk about it a little bit. So as I said, I'm not teaching a core class, and so I do have a little extra freedom than many of my colleagues. And I also have great administrative support. However, it can be difficult to find things that are meaningful and are actual language arts or communication standards that I feel meet what I would like to see in my class. And particularly since so much of the class is in our outdoor classroom space. But part of place-based education to me is it's our region, like not only our campus and outdoors, but also the history of our place and our community. And so there is a lesson in the learning to give resources that is another one is one that I've come back to because it's called Working Together Works. And it's basically a lesson where students write a public service announcement and they record it for a nonprofit organization. And so what I've done is put together several different nonprofit organizations that are in our community. And then, of course, I also let students choose a nonprofit that they might know of through their family. So, for example, if they want to do something big like the Humane Society, they have to be looking specifically at our West Michigan Humane Society. And so they, at that time, then they're researching what the needs of the organization are, and then creating a call to action and writing a public service announcement for that organization. Then I also asked them to write an email to be able, so they could send their recorded PSA to the organization so that they could, you know, use it for local radio or something. And the one thing I have to say is I haven't been very successful in like getting great quality where I think they'd actually use it on the radio, not the kids quality, but the sound quality. And so I recently bought a microphone that I think will help with that for next year. But the point being that they're in the Learning to Give lesson, there are standards that are very well laid out. And I feel that it really fits with my communications standards that I'm trying to get. And then the students can submit, like, if they learn that an organization needs something and they want to try to fulfill those needs, then groups will do that. So for example, one boy last year, and this is a student who actually has some cognitive disabilities, and he had, with a couple other people, had chosen a local food delivery service that's for kids. They give food to kids every day, and they wanted things. So, and particularly we could like bag popcorn. So this boy headed up our whole class, raising money to, well, actually, I think in that case, we got the funds from Learning to Give for this, actually. But we purchased popcorn, like giant big things from Gordon Food Service, and then packaged it all up and gave it to the kids' food basket. And that was because, you know, he found that they need this, and then he said, I'm going to make it happen. And we made announcements and did a lot of work around it. So anyway, I definitely feel like it is doable.
Yes, I mean, yes, I think that's the biggest thing, is that and Maria, yeah, in just one second, I just wanted to make a note. We hear a lot that time factor is the biggest issue. How do I fit this in? How do I make sure that this fits into what I have to teach anyway? And that's what it is. Learning to Give and other service learning that connects with the Common Core and the state standards. They align really well, and so it's just maybe just that little extra, go a little extra beyond the requirements that you have, to give your students that opportunity to feel and experience that transformation. That's good. Okay, Maria? Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say it only took one day for us, one class period, to put all the popcorn stuff together, and the student had worked on it on his own, preparing. And in other situations, students maybe wanted to raise money for something, and so they made cookies at home, and then we sold them at lunch. And so they all find ways that they can give when they want to.
Right, and we all have something to give.
Mm-hmm.
Maria?
So you asked about balancing the standards, the student needs, and the administrative goals. And I will tell you, at our school, there's a very strong mission statement about giving back. Serve yourself and others with the best at all you do. So it's a very prominent theme at our boarding school. And I don't find that I do have any conflicts with the administrative goals. It fits right in line. And even though I am a math teacher, it doesn't seem to be any less important for me to be spearheading with students different opportunities and clubs and meeting the needs of students in that realm, because they have expectations that they're going to do the academics, they have expectations that they will do athletics, and then there's the community life piece. So They're booked pretty solid, and I would say probably the challenges that I face are more around, like you said, the time, but we can meet at 7 at night. And I just had a meeting yesterday with my Random Acts of Kindness Club to plan Teacher Appreciation Week here on campus, and I'm meeting with my Best Buddies group tomorrow night to plan the friendship walk that we're going to be doing and a dance we're doing for fundraising to help support that. So we do have that available, which I think is extremely helpful, because I don't know where else we would fit it in during the day. Right through the afternoon, they're really busy with academics and sports.
Okay. Okay. Does anyone out there that is on the call, does anyone have anything to add, you know, based on your experiences where you are? If you want to put something in the chat, you can. I'll move on, but we can come back to this too, because I think it's a topic that we hear the issue a lot, and trying to come up with solutions and ideas for solutions to help teachers not convince, but, well, convince the administration that it's a worthwhile and something that they should be able to do with their students in their classroom. So I'm going to move on. Next question is about mentors and mentees. Wondering if in your 23 years, you know, what it was like when you started that mentor-mentee aspect and how that inspired your teaching. And then now, I mean, are you still working with a mentor, and are you a mentee, and that sort of thing as well. So what do those relationships do for your teaching practice and your personal goals? Maria?
I am currently a mentor to a new teacher, and we had a very extensive program that the mentors would go through that involved active listening, specifics behind what it was we wanted to help instill in our mentees, support structure for whether they were a dorm parent or classroom teacher or art teacher, and the differences between that. And I think that what's beautiful about the process in my eyes is that it's helpful for both parties. It's not just one way, because I learn just as much from my mentee, I think, as she learns from me. And it's just having that fresh view, as with anything, to look at things in a new way. So it's been extremely positive for me. I was a very energetic, hyper kind of person, and I learned a lot about toning it down a little, and still being enthusiastic, but not quite so much, in your face, and also active listening skills, really listening and restating. So I've learned a lot, and I've grown a lot myself through being a mentor. And yeah, it's very different from starting 23 years ago. Oh, very different.
I can't say that I've been a part of a structured mentor-mentee program. However, for 5 years, I was a place-based education coordinator in my district. And so I was helping inspire other teachers to take their students outdoors and to help them just find meaningful ways to teach about the watershed. And so I would agree that whether it's something I'm doing with another teacher or I'm doing with our community partners, I always find that that the reciprocal partnerships are really strong. In other words, I'm finding that they want to give back to me as much as I'm giving to them, and vice versa. So whether it's me helping support teachers and then them saying, oh, well, I did this lesson and how can you maybe use it? Or whether it's me helping a community partner who had just come in and worked with our students and find a way that they can that like our students can share their information or something, but just like the giving back to each other, like helping support and uplift each other in these times when it can really feel like you're on your own and isolated. So
So that actually, Leah, kind of leads me into my next question, is that feeling, and we hear that from teachers quite a bit, that they, you know, they say that they work in isolation and they feel almost kind of siloed, and want to be able to talk to colleagues more, reach out to colleagues more, and have more of those professional conversations, but they aren't sure how to make it happen. So do either of you have any suggestions or recommendations for teachers who might be feeling that way?
Well, I think you have to be intentional about it. So I definitely feel that, because I teach something that I created. No one else teaches this class. Everyone else is part of a department. So when they want to have their professional learning communities or something, they have other people teaching their subject area. But so I have reached out to other people, not only teachers, but sometimes professionals who, and just ask, like, can we meet monthly? And that has been very helpful to me, but I know that I'm helping them too, so.
Okay, excellent. So just being intentional, knowing that you should do it, kind of stepping out of that comfort zone then a little bit, and asking. And then we actually talk to classrooms and teachers and students about that a lot too. Sometimes just that initial ask feels like the hardest part, but you get so much after the ask. Go ahead, Maria.
I totally agree with you, Leah. Intentional. You said it very well. If you're not getting right on your own campus that sense, or you don't have someone, keep looking. And that's how I stumbled on Learning to Give. And I got to tell you, I'm extremely impressed with this organization, and I'm really looking forward to doing more with them. It's been such a beautiful experience seeing what they have to offer, and to be able to talk with them whenever I need to, or if I'm looking for some extra advice. They've been phenomenal. So it might not be somebody that's quite right down the hall. It could be somebody online. And I mean, Learning to Give connected me with a teacher from Puerto Rico, and we were looking to do a distance learning activity. So unfortunately, they got a new director, and I think that they had to kind of axe that program, which was a shame because she was so ready to do it. We were all lined up. But I guess that would be an example of someone with administrators that weren't so supportive.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Learning to Give, you know, more and more we're trying to help be that option for teachers when they're looking for that and feel like they need that. What other organizations, you know, if you're willing to share, are you a part of, you know, that you are actively engaged in, and, you know, what resources are you using consistently, that sort of thing? Leah, I see you nodding.
Yeah, so one that has been transformative for me in the West Michigan area is called Groundswell, but it's one hub of a larger entity. So it's basically in the Great Lakes region. So there are, I think, 10 hubs around the Great Lakes, not only in Michigan. And it's called the Great Lakes Stewardship Initiative. And that is an organization that has brings teachers together to learn about the watershed and how to protect it, but also then, you know, how to take that back to your students. And that has been phenomenal working with them over, I mean, it's been 10 years now that I've worked with them.
Real quick, just by chance, how often do you meet?
Well, so we have like a dinner, what they call dinner and dialogue, 2 or 3 times a year. We have a summer institute, which is like a 6-hour day for 4 or 5 days in the summer. And then there are professional learning days throughout the school year, and they usually offer 4 to 5 in the school year. So you can take advantage of all those things. You can go to as many or as few as you want. And there are, so one great thing about doing this for the last 10 years is I've met a lot of people who are like-minded and working for other districts in the area, but those are some of my collaborative partners. And that also the organization is supportive through grant funds and also just like teaching methodologies and content information and connecting us with community partners. So that's been the most helpful in my teaching and what I'm doing with my place-based work.
Okay, excellent. Thanks, Lea. Maria?
We utilize a couple organizations to support the service groups that we're running here. One of them is Best Buddies New Hampshire. It's actually Best Buddies International, and we have conference calls with them. We have had them come to our campus to train, and so we're very closely connected with them in how to interact and work with students with IDD. We work with Random Acts of Kindness, and that's primarily through their Google website, through their website. The Girls on the Run program.
Sorry.
Do
you do
the Girls on the Run program? Sorry, I hear some. It is an international organization, and that's that works with youth in the area to teach them about young girls' empowerment. But most of the stuff that I belong to is primarily around mathematics and all of the different organizations and that I attend, the conferences and those organizations. But I'm on the board of directors for Kingswood Youth Center here and the Granite State Adaptive, which is another body of a lot of opportunities and partnership where we meet once a month. But I Google a lot. I just go on and look for stuff, and things like finding Teachers Pay Teachers is a pretty incredible site. Pinterest is pretty amazing too. I found some very interesting things on there, but that's how I discovered Learning to Give, because I just started surfing.
Okay.
One other thing that I use online is the TED Ed Club. I've signed my students up for their program, and they do a TED talk, and that's been supportive. There is, you can use the resources, but there also is an application, and there's a process and things. It's not so selective. It's just that you go through it, and then they give you a training, an online appointment for a training. And one neat thing is that they have these like get-togethers with other TED Ed clubs. So we would have a conversation like we have here tonight with this with Learning to Give, only it's with our students and students from all over the world, talking about their TED clubs and their speeches that they're writing. And so that's been beneficial to me.
Okay. Is that a goal? A top of your mind as educators to connect classrooms like that? Is that something that you seek out as an opportunity that you want to do consistently?
Well, the course I'm using it for, that course is called The World Around You. And so as I was developing that class, it made sense to put it in there, and it being communications class. So, but in my regular like natural expressions classes, I'm not connecting those kids with other students around the world. That's true. We should though, around water.
Right. Shared experience, shared need. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Maria, I can see you nodding. Did you want to add to that? Or?
Oh, I just agree. I think it's critical that it include everyone that you can have access with. And I was so excited when you guys connected me with the teacher from Puerto Rico, and I'm sorry that that was.
I know.
But that's what we would aspire to. We are lucky in that we have a lot of international students here, but that's not the world. And the more that they can get out there and speak with others about what's going on in their communities and how to help, that's huge, critical.
Okay. Another question kind of on my list. This one takes us away from that stuff just a little bit. And we talked about resources that you use, but wondering too about resources, books, things in your life, professionally and personally, that inspire you, you know, to get up and do what you do and this amazing work that you do every day.
Oh. I'm usually reading things about the natural world, and so they're not education based, you know, but just but connecting kind of with your heart to the natural world and listening to the conversations with things in nature, and also reading about self-help. I always feel like I've, you know, as much as you, just when you're working with so many different personalities every day and kids need so much from you, I feel like I need to always work on kind of recharging myself and making sure that I'm healthy and balanced. And so I work on that too.
Good.
I can't say that I have subscriptions to any particular magazines or that I read a particular theme or genre of books. I'm much more hands-on, so I'm out in the community talking to friends that I know that work in places that would need the assistance, and just going out there and talking with them to find out what is of need in the community is really my source of information.
Mm-hmm.
David actually just posed a question in the chat for the two of you. He said, are there any global challenges that the both of you would suggest for service learning projects? Lea, you've been talking about, you know, connecting with other classrooms, and Maria, you have that international student body a little bit. So any things that have come up that would make sense?
Well, I'm always looking at and teaching about invasive plant and aquatic species, and those are actually a great, for me in my class, they've been a great jumping off point for service learning projects. So for example, my students are putting together right now a garlic mustard pull in a neighborhood. One of the people who works, like, is on the neighborhood board contacted me and told me about this need. So I shared that with my students, and now they're creating a day, basically like a morning, for the whole 7th grade, which is 300 kids, to go out to this site and pull garlic mustard and also do some fun activities and things. So that is global in the sense that wherever you are in the world, our human impact has created the problem of invasive species. And so there's always something that you could find.
Okay. David, does that, you can put it in the chat, but if you have anything to respond to Lea about, you can feel free to put it in the chat, or you can hop on and actually chat a little bit regularly, verbally, vocally as well. Maria, did you have any other ideas?
We have, in this past year, 3 different groups going out to the island school in Eleuthera, where they're working with the water and the species in the water there. We had a group go to Guatemala to help with the ditches and irrigation and building. And we have a group that's going to be heading, that's actually left for Peru. And I don't have all the specifics behind what that group was doing. We usually will get a presentation when they come back and some video footage and experiences from the kids. So what we tend to do, I guess, is go there. As far as addressing it from home, we haven't done a great job of trying to set up some telecommunications to address that. But that is something that we hope to do, to find out what is out there, what are some of the issues that we can help with from our town of Wolfboro.
Maria, that was interesting. Our we have in my school district, there are high school students who do go to the island school as well. It's not formal through our school, but they have come and recruited lots of kids. So every year there's a handful each semester who go there. Mm-hmm.
Nice little connection.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So we're running on our interview time. Do the two of you have any other, major thoughts, big picture ideas, experiences that you've had in the last few years that you feel that you want to be able to share with the group? Close it out.
Well, one thing I would just like to say is that you can do as little or as much as your energy allows at that time. So I appreciate just being able to kind of dip in and dip out depending on how things are working for me that month or that year or whatever. So thanks to Learning to Give for putting out your Teach One activities and different things just to like spark a new interest, but then you always have your lessons there to check out all year as well.
Thank you.
For me, just don't give up and keep at it. It takes time to cultivate our youth in taking a leadership role. And I really believe that if you're not getting the support, you will once they see how it affects our youth and what it's doing to help grow their hearts.
Mm.
Okay, does anyone have any other questions for Lea or Maria? I'll give you a few seconds to kind of think about it a little bit if you want to put something in the chat. And then I have a few other things. I have some images to share from the Teach One Tote Challenge that we just had. So I'm excited to show everybody those things that came in on social media and via email. And then one other kind of little discussion piece, and then we'll wrap up the call. We have about 10 minutes or so left, and we'll probably use the remainder of that time. So stick with us a little bit. It doesn't look like anyone else has anything to chat. So Lea and Maria, thank you so much for your time and sharing yourselves with this Learning to Give community. We
Nice to see you in person, Katie, and very nice to meet you.
I know.
Yeah.
Very nice to meet you, Lea.
Good to see you. Okay.
I'm gonna
go off the webcam, but I'll still be listening and cheering.
Yes. All right. So we're going to move, just again, like I said, we have just some photos that came in from the Tote Challenge. Lea, I know that your students participated. David, I'm pretty sure that we got some information in from where you are, I think. And then, yeah, I mean, here are just some pictures that, students kind of took on the challenge. That Tote Challenge was talking about the negative impact on the use of plastic grocery bags and coming up with ways, one, to dispose of and or use the grocery bags that are already out and floating around the world. And then two, coming up with a way to use an old t-shirt and turn that into a tote that someone could take to a grocery store. And quite a few of these totes that you see in these pictures, the students made and then actually donated to a local grocery store for use by patrons that would go there. So if any of you did do the Tote Challenge, please, just share a sentence or two, write about it in the chat. I know, David, your students enjoy the challenge, so that's great. We've gotten really, really good feedback on this one. And this lesson will be available on the Learning to Give website continually, even as we take it down as our Teach One focus. In the next few weeks, we'll be turning that Teach One page into a Teach One for Back to School, where we're actually partnering with the Crayon Collection. And so the next round of Teach One is going to be all about understanding how crayons impact the environment, wax crayons, and what students can do to collect crayons, donate crayons to places in need of crayons for young people to do art, and then it all kind of ties together art and community as an aspect of everything that we do. So that's coming up, but this Tote Challenge lesson will be available for you to access later on should you need to. Just type in Tote Challenge in that lesson search and it will pop right up for you and you can use it. But we were really excited to see these images come in, and some of the quotes and things that came in from students and teachers was pretty fabulous. So thank you, thank you, thank you if you participated. And if you haven't yet, there's still time. So feel free and then send us the pictures so we can share those out. We do have some other opportunities for collaborative members, and some of you know about this already. If you're interested in things like connecting with other classrooms, Maria had said we were trying to connect her with that teacher in Puerto Rico, but that didn't quite work out. But we're always willing. So if you're looking for something and you want to try to connect classrooms, we do have a little bit of an international membership. And then we can always try to connect you with teachers and classrooms from other states as well. So just reach out and we can try to help make that connection. Also this summer, if any of you are looking for a little extra, well, not extra work, but something extra to work on, or want to get creative a little bit, we're always looking for help and support on learning to give content. Everything that we have is written and vetted by teachers like you, and the best content comes from teachers like you because you're in the classroom, you know what's going on, you know if it's worked or not. So if you're interested in doing any writing whatsoever for us, please feel free, email me, email Betsy, send us a note and just let us know that you're interested, and we can reach back out to you and talk about those opportunities and see if anything will make sense for you. And then also this summer, we have our online mini courses. So many of you are aware of those. They're free. You just have to log into your Learning to Give account. And they're, 45 minutes to an hour. You can get through a whole mini course. You'll get a certificate at the end of the course that you can use for continuing education credits. And those courses are really meant to help you understand the background of a topic, like the Sustainable Development Goals, or using spoken word poetry for advocacy and advocating, all of those things. So it gives you kind of that background information on a topic, gives you some tips and ideas for how you can infuse that topic in your classroom, and then a little bit of a quiz to make sure that you kind of have the ideas in line and that you would be comfortable going forth and sharing those ideas with your students. On a side note, some teachers do assign some of the mini courses to students, more on the high school level than the lower level. So if you're a high school, 9th through 12th grade teacher, feel free to go through a course or two. And if you see one that you think would be beneficial for your students to take, they can create a student account on the website and take a course themselves as well. And then that could lead into more discussion and a more robust service learning opportunity, if you all have that background information from a quiz. So anywho, use it at your leisure. They're there for you. They're free, available anytime that you would log into the website. This is a question that came up a while ago, and I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this. We had talked about this on our last meeting quickly. Some teachers use something called Kahoot, and they create kind of online games. Just in the chat function, if you'll say whether you've used something like Kahoot or, almost like a Jeopardy or some other kind of gaming educational opportunity, we're mulling over the idea of trying to figure out a way to make a Learning to Give version or a Learning to Give game to bring in philanthropy ideas and service learning into some sort of online educational game that would actually be used, in the classroom. The students would participate in it. Could be really neat. Let us know. Oh, lots of people have used Kahoot. Okay, good to know, good to know. Well, if based on what I just said, you think it could be a viable option, feel free to email me. I'd be happy to talk to some of you too, kind of one-on-one. I'm not super familiar with Kahoot. So it would be good to kind of get your perspective on how it works and how simple it is, and maybe how we could tailor it to bring in those philanthropy and service learning ideas. And yeah, like Maria said, we know students love interactive games and other things. So if it's interactive, it might be a really good way to share service learning and philanthropy, at least on the front end, to teach those background definitions and skills. Excellent. Thank you, Maria. I'll reach back out to you. So goal setting, this is one just to take a moment and think about yourself and reflect a little bit on this past school year. We're coming up on summer right now. You're kind of in that crunch time moment. You're busy. You have a lot going on. And with that, too, we so appreciate you joining us for this call tonight. We know this is your personal time, and we're glad that you see some value in what this meeting has to offer and being able to collaborate and join with other teachers, kind of with these like-minded interests in service learning and philanthropy, giving back to community. So if there are things that you want your students to accomplish and experience before the end of the school year, feel free in the chat. If you want to share with the group, you can. If you want to just think about it on your own, you can. But then, also take a step further and think about what you need to make that happen. And if Learning to Give can be a resource and there's anything that we can do, please reach out and let us know. If either Lea or Maria that you heard talking tonight gave you some insight and you are excited about something, but maybe you want to talk to them offline, please feel free to reach out and we can connect you so that you can have more robust conversations about what your goals are and how to accomplish them. Okay, a couple people are putting things in the chat, which is awesome. Okay, and we're going to the end of our hour, so I don't want to keep us over our time. This is a little bit about 2 minutes for open discussion, a minute or so, if anyone has any additional questions. Our next meeting, we're going to take a little hiatus. Thanks, Maria. We appreciate you as well. She says, thanks to LTG for all we do. We're going to take a little hiatus for summer, and we'll kick back off in August with our first collaborative meeting. There are going to be some other opportunities coming down the pipeline over the summer, and you'll likely hear about those in the next few weeks or so. So just keep an eye out on your email. They'll generally come from my email, the khagers@learningtogive.org. So hopefully that's not going into your spam folder too often. And then join the Facebook group. We haven't had that much action on that group, but it's open in there for you to share ideas, an interesting article that you may have found, a quote from a book that might have inspired you, any of those things. If you think it's interesting, if you think it's inspiring, someone else will probably think it is too. So please share it out. Okay. All right, everyone, it's 8 o'clock. Lea and Maria, again, a heartfelt thank you for your time tonight. We so appreciated learning about your teaching backgrounds and your passions and how you're able to inspire your students to be giving and caring in their community. So have a lovely evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us. Take care.